Namaskar all. I am your host Ashish Bhadwaj, a DPS Mathura Road alumnus, and I welcome you all to Alma Talks, an initiative of DPS Alumni Network. Today, we celebrate Dussehra in India, so I take this opportunity to wish you all a very happy Dussehra. May all the gloom and misery vanish, and may we get a vaccine for coronavirus soon. Today, I am joined by my co-host Tanya Khanna.
Hello everyone, I'm Tanya Khanna from Delhi Public School, Mathura Road, batch of 2008. I am a software and a finance professional working for a leading IT firm in Delhi.
Thanks, Tanya. I will now take you all through a small presentation on our guest. Today on our show, we have Mr. Puneet Ahluwalia, an alumnus of DPS Puram 1985 batch. He is truly an American with a Hindustani dil. So let me take you through a small presentation. We have Puneet Ahluwalia with us. He's the president of New World Strategies Virginia. He specializes in assisting organizations on navigating issues with US federal and state agencies. He is the executive director of South Asia Minority Alliance Foundation. He works to highlight concerns of religious and ethnic minorities of South Asia. He has expertise in coalition building combined with a strong background on understanding the complexities of international affairs. Earlier, Mr. Ahluwalia was a partner of both Franklin Global Group and with the Global Political Solutions, the two multi-service government relations and business development firms based in Washington, D.C. He's the founder of Proud American Pact in the state of Virginia. He's running for Lieutenant Governor of Virginia in 2021. He has served on Trump campaign Asia Pacific American Advisory Committee in the national campaigns. Additionally, he was selected State Central Committee of the Republican Party of Virginia. He has been active at various levels for over 20 years in the Republican Party. Mr. Ahluwalia regularly contributes on South Asian issues and on the importance of First and Second Amendment of the US Constitution. He speaks several South Asian languages and has traveled across extensively. I will now invite Rajiv Soni to briefly explain the concept behind Phir Bhi Dil Hai Hindustani.
Good evening, everybody. Phir Bhi Dil Hai Hindustani took a germ root in my mind 20 years ago when I had gone to the US and I came back a couple of years later. We've done 16 episodes so far. I think today is the 17th episode. We have today Indian American Puneet Ahluwalia. He's from DPS. And what I liked about the various pages I read about him, everywhere he writes DPS alumnus, not specifying the school, which is fantastic. I really like that. He's running for a Republican nomination of the Lieutenant Governor for Virginia, campaigning on a message of hope, growth, and opportunity. All three symbolize America. This I would say because I spent a few years there living, working. And the DPS alumnus, the DPS alumni network community is very happy and very proud to have an Indian, to have one amongst us who studied with us, maybe a few years up and down, to be in the world's most desired country to be in, and has certainly accomplished a lot to be able to reach a level where he now moves to the next higher level. So all the best, Puneet. Good luck.
So Puneet, would you want to say something before I start the first question?
Well, first is thank you, and I'm happy to share it to everyone in Delhi and all over India and all over the world. And thank you, Tanya, and especially to Rajiv to reaching out to me and connecting on this great platform. I strongly feel bonded with each one of you because the great school and the teachers who taught us kind of built and inculcated such values which we still hold dear to us. So to me, it is talking to schoolmates who are up and down, but we are from the same fabric. So honored and proud to be here, and looking forward to a healthy, creative, and aspiring conversation.
Thank you, Puneet. Thank you for those encouraging words. So let's get started. Now, my first question to you is, you have been quoted as saying, "I am a proud American living the American dream." So tell
Yes.
us something about your first job in US.
Let me tell you the proud aspect that came is, there's been in the last few years about racism and divisiveness in the US that's been going on. And, somehow or the other, the political party has taken a platform of being apologetic about being an American. And as Rajiv said, most of the people aspire to come to the United States, and including us. We have a choice. We all have a choice to be where we want to be. And in one of my video messages, my wife and I said, we chose to be in America. So we are proud Americans. We are proud of the country which has given us so much. And that was important to recognize. Now, coming back to the question at hand, yeah, I was delivering boxes of microwaves, VCRs, telephones at various shops in New York. And that's where I started initially. But proudly, I did that.
Okay, that's wonderful, and I must compliment you on that. One line or two on your family.
Blessed to have a lovely family, my wife and 3 kids and 2 dogs, and I have a sister in India, and my mother, and I have one nephew and niece, and each, and a very good set of friends who are like family to us, and of course extended family like most of us. So
Okay.
we have a good network.
Okay, perfect, wonderful. My next question to you is: tell us something about your consultancy and IT businesses in the Washington area.
The consulting is, I was in the financial field, and in 2007 and 8, when the financial crisis happened, I had to reinvent myself. And it's very hard to fall from pretty high up and you were very successful and that's your field, real estate and finance. And when the fat lady sang at that time and the financial crisis, had to reinvent ourselves. And that's when I joined Governor Allen, former US Senator from Virginia, to understand how Washington works in terms of lobbying, consulting, advocacy. So one of the businesses which I handle is advocacy and consulting, especially understanding how Washington, the House of Power works, the Congress, the White House, the various federal agencies. So how do you navigate yourself? It's a quite a maze. And and because most Indians are in IT, and we were very blessed to find some great partners in India, Gaurav Ahuja and Himanshu Singh. So my wife is with them in doing IT, which is website development, talent placement, and also going into federal agency in terms of IT services.
Okay. From advocacy to moving on to the other side, although you have been actively participating in US politics since 1998, 99, I want to know what made you switch on to the other side. What made you join active politics?
Well, very good question. You see, we are all, I have said it to people on various occasions when I start my thing. We Indian Americans are very, very proud people, very hardworking, with intellectual capital, which is galore. Not only intellectual, but financial capital. And when you are in a great nation and you don't have a seat on the table, there is something fundamentally wrong. And you drive a nice Mercedes, but if you don't have insurance, then guess what? If somebody bangs into you, you have to pay for it. Hence the reason, when we are building our strong careers and our stature in this great nation, we also have to be politically connected. And that came to highlight in September, after September 11th, when Balbir Singh Soni, who was tragically killed in Arizona. And that's when I said, you know what? We do very well. We make average 100,000 plus income, but we don't have a political voice. And anybody can come and take a aim at you, and there is no, even though we're a country of law, rule of law and order, you need to participate. You need to be active. And that's when my activism started. So that's when I got involved with the Republican Party at the grassroots level. Like most people, Ashish, I had no idea what Republican Party values were, what Democratic Party values were. But then you study, you realize that what is the fundamental ideology of the party. Just like people join BJP or the Congress, but people, sometimes check the wind oh, it's a BJP wave, so let me be a BJP guy or let me become a Congress guy. I fundamentally chose myself to be on the Republican side because I identify myself as a conservative.
Okay.
That's wonderful. So, Puneet, let me ask you a next question. One of the media reports quoted you saying that the state of Virginia needs a new leadership to attract investment, jobs, growth, and wealth. So, my question is firstly, can you please throw some light on what was the cause that made you say this statement? And what is the vision that you look forward to that inspires you to run for this office?
Very good question, Tanya. That's one of the reasons why I chose to run. Look, I really like what President Trump said in his last debate. He said, look, Joe, if you had done your job to a politician, I would not be running. I'm a business person. My wife and I are very private people. Our kids are in college. We're more like empty nesters. But the direction of the state of Virginia changed dramatically since the Democrats took control. The Democratic leadership from governor to lieutenant governor, attorney general, and the both houses. That's when I realized what they were doing. They first came after your guns. It's always they start changing the constitutional right. And again, a lot of people say, oh, most Indians don't really care about gun rights. And I understand and I respect that. But to me, it was important because I've seen the carnage of not being able to protect yourself on the streets of Delhi, or the riots that happened in June, July in Washington or in other parts of the United States. It sent the same kind of concern that things can go wrong. So when they came after one constitution right of yours, and I wrote an article in Washington Times about the gun rights, then I started seeing the laws they were starting to pass. It was very stifling for small businesses. Like, you penny pinch people at various levels. And that's when I started looking at the direction my state was going is basically they're just changing it into a liberal, socialist, big government state. And I love my state. I've been here since '93. I love this place. I love my country. And I decided that this is unacceptable. And also that's, by the way, in March, April, when I was just thinking about it. And then there was also another incident in Kabul when the Sikhs were killed. And I raised the voice of advocacy on helping the Sikhs in Kabul to see if they could be brought to a safe zone. And thanks to India and the Indian government, which invited them to India to take refuge. But still, why should somebody leave their home because of some bad actors, bad elements who believe in the path of hatred and hatred and killing? So that's when I also decided to say, you know what, the direction of the world is not where it is, and I think I have a role to play. And especially when you've played an active role, you understand how the game is played and how the politics is played, and you say, well, if you have that, you might as well give one shot. You shouldn't have regrets. And more importantly, when I saw the direction the state went after the tragic death of George Floyd, it was time to come out and say, well, I'm a citizen soldier. I'm a proud Sikh, and let's get to arms. Let's fight the revolution. Let's fight and be counted. Because guess what? And I'll tell you, most people don't realize that. People test waters, Tanya. They want to see how much can we push into you. And first there'll be a mob, and then the mob will be standing around. And if the police doesn't do anything, which they're supposed to, we all expect the police to do something. Well, so they're not doing anything. Then guess what? They're going to just go break some doors open. The police still didn't do anything. That's what happened in New York. And then they say, well, geez, it's an open house. Could you all imagine sitting in India that they were breaking into Louis Vuittons all the way on the avenues in New York? And that was what said, this is not the direction of my country. And most importantly, just like in India, the political leaders did not say anything. When somebody says, why are you pointing on India? That's my experience. That's my country. I'm the conscience of India. And if the rule of law breaks in the United States, which is the beacon of hope and democracy and known as the world power, that's unacceptable. Not on my watch, not on our watch. We are proud Americans. We are proud participants of this great economy and great success. Hence the reason I said, no, it's enough is enough. You have to stand up and you have to hold these politicians accountable. These people in leadership and the police person, and they keep asking to defund the police and penalize the police. Well, he's also a human being. He has a family. And he was, and there was a clear order in New York to stand down. So what are the poor small businesses and people will do? And now next thing will happen is, well, the Indians are very successful. They all keep gold at home. They keep jewelry at home. They're beautiful people. Well, guess what? They come and loot your home next. And now, and guess what? And well, if we are looting, well, might as well rape few people also. You see, the mentality of the mob is very uncontrollable. And I'm not going out of bound. Things happen, sir. And things happen, Tanya. And that's the reason before it goes to a next level, before, when I say in the genocide conversation also, I said before, how many people have to die before we call it a genocide? When we see a situation getting bad to worse, why not we call it out before that? And people from our heritage, our background have seen too much in generations that it is important for us to speak out, to be heard, because we've seen it firsthand, tragically. But our experience is what makes a better future, a stronger future, a greater nation. I'm sorry, that was a long-ended response to your question.
So you've worked in India and you've worked in US as well. So my question is, what are the two main differences that you see while working there in India and US?
I'll tell the opportunities in the United States are galore. That's the reason why if you have 8 billion people in the world, 4 billion wants to be in the United States. And mind you, India has a huge potential. And my urging to the government and the leadership of India would be is to open India up. Let India flourish. Look at how we Indian Americans or Indians around the world have flourished and effectively and so successfully. And from leaders and prime ministers or presidents in different countries to be billionaires. We are such a great fabric. And I'm just not saying India. Look at from Bangladesh all the way across to Pakistan and even Iran. That whole area has got such hardworking and intellectual people. And let the economy coming to India be free. Don't be protectionist. I understand you have to protect the small businesses and the mom and pop shop. Find a very healthy balance for that. And find banks to lower the money, the interest rate, to extend money to people. Trust me, the talent pool in India is so good. And the other important thing which I'll tell people in India is be ethical. It's so important to have integrity. If you make a commitment, fulfill the commitment, and don't cut corners. There are no shortcuts to success. But if you want to play on an international field, have those moral values and a moral compass. And most importantly, fight corruption, guys. The biggest thing that's hindering India is corruption. You know, and my other thing is pay your taxes. Even if it's 10%, 15%, just start paying taxes. If you pay taxes, what it does is it gives the country the needed funds to give the resources and give good salaries to people who are working on the top level. When you pay people good salaries, let's say a police person is getting a great salary, there's no reason for him to take a kickback. So that if the Indians, the large young population wants to create more opportunities for themselves, they have to work hand in hand with the government, you know, and at the same time, working with, I always believe, in fact, I just did a class on political resolution and conversation. I believe only through dialogue, either it's through leadership or through faiths or race or religion, only through dialogue we are able to come up with solutions. There's no other way. It doesn't matter if Tanya and I don't understand and agree with each other, doesn't mean Tanya is going to vanish tomorrow. I'm going to see Tanya again. So, and a certain amount of civility is very important. Anyway, and that's what, to answer your question, the focus is to bring those values which exist in America, because we don't have low, you know, if the cop catches you, hey, you give him $100, he lets you go. No, you'll be in jail. You just, in sometime people come to me, hey, can we get this contract by giving this much money? No, it doesn't work like that. It's all transparent. It's very overt. It's positioning you and being your brand ambassador and your marketing person. That's what the culture has to change in India. And I think India deserves that.
Correct.
Very rightly
I
said.
must believe in that. Correct.
Okay, moving
Also,
on. Tell me something. How do you celebrate major Indian festivals there?
Oh, well, we have Taj parties.
Okay.
Diwali has started. So, luckily we have a great friend group. So we'll all host parties every weekend. So Diwali is celebrated, Dussehra is celebrated. Then we'll have, of course, I have a Muboli sister, and my sister will send Rakhi. So I don't want to forget my sisters in that. And then we, of course, we celebrate Eid. We celebrate Christmas. We have two Christmas trees, one top, one on the upper floor, one on the down floor, and of course the kids are so excited about getting all the gifts. So that's the best part about United States is, and that also used to be for India, and maybe still is. I haven't been there in 30 years. We celebrate each other's happiness, each other's joy, and because in my workplace I have more Christian friends and Jewish friends, and of course I work with a Muslim leader. Um, the four of us will be sitting together discussing peace, talking about how we promote peace in the South Asia region, and that's what it is. Not only we celebrate each other's faith, but each other's humanity and each other's joy. So that's how I look at it. We Americans love to celebrate happiness.
Okay, that's wonderful. Tell me one thing. I just heard you said that you haven't been to India for a long while. So when was your last trip here?
Tragically, in 2017 October, when my father passed away,
Okay.
and was coming before regularly once or twice a year,
Mhm.
and I was working with the person, great guy who does the cleaning, Sulabh.
Tulip toilets.
Yeah, he was just a great person, fantastic human being. So I was working with him, and so that's what brought me in India also, because we started a Trump village,
Mhm.
and then coming to see my family. But since COVID, it's just been kind of hard.
Mhm.
But like everything else, this too shall pass.
Absolutely. So on a normal trip, in good times, like when you used to come, how did you used to spend time in India?
First is my friends, of course, family, of course, a few meetings, but then I have to be in with my friends in school, DPS Amit, Ajay, all my good school friends have to meet, Puneet Berry, great guys. Have to, as you go to a gurdwara for matha tekne ke liye, so you have to pay your dues and respect to your friends, and of course Khan Market and shopping. And 9 days is maximum I can take, and then of course few targeted focused meetings, and eat what you can, and as many times as you can, and we're Punjabis. What can you say, Tanya? We live to eat. Uh,
So next
and
year, how many times are you going to come?
Well, it depends. Next year would be very hard. I'll be focused on campaigning and winning.
Next 2 years?
Uh, After I win, then definitely a trip to India, because my goal is to strengthen U.S.-India ties. I'm a firm believer. Sometimes people say, "Well, oh, you work with Congress and you work with BJP." Yeah, I'll work with whoever is in power and whoever is in the leadership of India, because I'm a proud Indian American. My goal is to strengthen ties between every country which is an ally of the United States. Either you're an ally, you're a friend, or a partner. As a person in politics, as a person who is going to run the state, my goal is to bring great allies. And I also said one thing in my videos: if there is any Chinese company which has got support to the CCP, you will never ever open a business in Virginia. I promise you that. I'm very against countries which treat them and their people badly, and they're not allies of the United States. And China is not a friend at this point.
okay, so coming on to the next question. So given a chance for your next life, would you rather be born in US or would you rather opt for the same route of being born in India and then moving there?
I told my wife this last night only. I would rather be born as an Indian American again. I'm proud, and a Sikh. I'm proud of my heritage. I'm proud of who I am. I'm very proud. The roots, the culture, the heritage. I'd rather be born again. And luckily, in our culture, in our faith, we're reborn. So I'd rather be reborn again as the great country which has been a cradle of so many civilizations and so many faiths. I'm so proud. I'm touched. I must have done something right in my previous life.
Absolutely.
Wonderful.
We will now have a quick rapid fire round, which comprises questions that need to be answered intuitively. 10 questions to be answered in 2 minutes.
Okay, so Puneet, the first question is your school admission number.
Oh, geez, I don't remember that.
Second question, first name of your class teacher in class 12th.
First name of your class teacher in class 12. Hussain Saab, one of my finest teachers, and Geeta Sani, two of the most important teachers in my life who were very impressionable in becoming the man I am. I'm thankful to all the teachers, but also especially to these two. And sadly, Miss Geeta Sani passed away earlier this year, I suppose.
So, third question, your favorite purchase in the school canteen.
Oh, samosas. They had the samosas they have to give. That was pretty good. And then bread pakoras too.
Yeah, the bread pakora is my favorite too. Okay, two personality traits learned in India that have stood you in good taste over the years.
Two personality traits. You hustle. We as Delhiites, we are such hustlers, and there's one is a very bad one. It's the galis we give in Delhi. It's unbelievable. It just kind of bonds you everywhere with any person in across the continents. The first thing you give a curse word and you're immediately connected to him. That's a Delhi. It's a typical Delhi one. Who's from Delhi will understand that.
Okay. One work habit you would encourage young professionals in India to develop so as to compete globally.
Integrity, ethics.
Wonderful. Wonderful. That's something to look up to. Your most recent accomplishment in COVID times.
Arriving to the decision to run for office.
Wishing you all the success. Traditional dal sabzi roti or largely the cuisines of US.
Oh, dal roti, and dal chawal with the char and piyaz.
Okay. To relax, do you prefer a book or a music?
Music.
Your favorite
Especially the old
health
Rafi
drink?
songs.
Oh, wonderful. They're very soothing, I believe.
I know.
So, your favorite health drink?
Or single malts. Of course, if it calms your nerves, I think it's the best health drink.
Describe yourself in a hashtag.
Puneet hashtag. I guess that's just my name, my brand.
Okay, wonderful. So, very well played, Puneetji. Ashish, can you please tell us the score?
Yeah, he's played really well. He's got 9 out of 10.
Oh, wow.
Wow, that's good.
My teachers
Okay.
would be rolling right now because I would never get, out of 10, I would be getting 3 or 4 or 2. So I think from the DPS standard, that's fantastic.
Okay, moving ahead, Puneet, tell us 2 instances, where you can say your dil is still Hindustani.
Oh, everything is. As I said, reborn as Indian. You see, I think Rajiv reached out to me. And to me, you call me chief guest. No, guys, I still wear the pants the same way. You're my schoolmates. Some of you are elder to me. I look up to you for ideas and advice. I look up to the young generation for advice. I speak to my daughter and my son to give me advice on how I should be talking and being a better communicator in terms of winning this election. You become a leader is through listening to people, to learning from people. So I think this is all a great heritage, which was from the country we are born from. So today, what I am is the greatness of our country. And of course, my parents and my friends and the faiths we've all inculcated in us.
Mm-hmm. Okay, very well said. Now, I'll ask you, tell me, when did you last visit DPS Akipur?
Oh, my nephew studies there, and so he's in there, and so I went to pick him up, and I saw all those things boarded up, and you have to take permission to get in. So it's more like it's like a prison before you get in or get out. So in our school days, we just could walk in. It was very simpler days, but of course, we live in different times. So it was nice to see there some memories back.
Okay. Okay. So I'm now at the last question before we, end this section and move on to the next section. So tell me, Puneet, what would be your message for the DPS alumni community?
Very clearly, be an inspiration. Tanya just said a visionary. I want to inspire a young man sitting in the line who hasn't polished his shoes, who is naughty, whose tie was open, who came in late. There is a strong future for you. And maybe academically, you may not be the brilliant guy because suddenly you see all these head boys and head girls and prefects, and suddenly you say, geez, man, I wish could have done better. I think investing in yourself, evolving and persevering and having faith is very important. Strong family is so important. So I believe you can be an inspiration to create many more Ashish and Rajivs and Tanyas and Piyush and Javed and so many. So I believe my goal is to inspire young boys and girls to do greater things. And that's my message.
Okay, very well said. So with this, I come to an end of this section. I will now invite Rajiv Soni to first come and give a vote of thanks, and then we will, open the house for next questions.
Two things I wanted to say. One, Puneet, the first name of your teacher, Mr. Hussain, is Ikrar.
Oh, yeah, Ikrar Hussain. You're right. Oh, thank you.
Yeah. And the second thing is, I'm always inspired by somebody who accomplishes something, younger, older, black, white, brown. That's not important. In today's world of, it's a kaleidoscope of several negativities, several difficulties, several challenges. Any person, male or female, black or white, green or brown, Indian or American, South Asian or the Middle Eastern, if a person has reached a certain level, there is definitely something that that person has, certain trials and tribulations the person has gone through, emerged stronger, come out of it, now has reached a level and is hoping and looking forward to reach to the next higher level so as to be able to inspire a lot of people along. I think that is a phenomenal accomplishment. And a person from DPS, having reached that, I really compliment you, Puneet.
Thank you.
I wish you all the best in all your endeavors, certainly in your standing for office, in your running for office, and also in your work and in your other aspirations that you will work towards with a lot of integrity, a lot of trustworthiness. People have to trust you that you will do right, and I'm sure they do. I'm sure they do. And all the very best. Good luck.
Thank you.
'76 batch, that's a no-brainer on the age. DPS, and now in Gurgaon, a chartered accountant by original profession, now an author and a novelist and an educationist.
I'm Sumit from DPS Argipuram batch of '87. I am a filmmaker based in Mumbai, and I'm working as an executive producer on feature films in here. Wonderful to be here and meet all of you.
Congratulations and all the best to the chief guest for today, Puneet Ahluwalia. Let me start with that first. And I am 80 batch, Mathura Road. Worked in corporate life, or rather working in corporate life for almost 35 years now, leading a couple of American companies in India for Pan-Asia operations.
Very nice. Pleasure.
I will introduce Debang Deka to all of you. Debang is in a concert right now. Deka is from DPS Mathura Road, 1982 batch. He's working in Moscow, Russia, and he is into construction business.
My name is Himanshu Bhatnagar, 1979 DPS Mathura Road. I run a small business for providing technology to public transportation, especially in healthcare. I've been in the US for 35 years, and I've been running this business for the past 22 years. And I have a lot of dealings with government, municipalities, cities and towns, and federal government for my business, because they are my largest component of the business clients. Fascinating conversation, Q&A, and all the best to you, Puneet, on your endeavors.
first of all, I'd like to wish Puneet all the best for his campaign, and wish all present here happy Dashera, and it signifies victory of good over evil, so victory over the COVID pandemic very soon at the earliest. So I just had to wonder, I mean, and I was struck by what Puneet said about Washington being a base. Washington is a fascinating place, so many films, etc. You know. But my question is, so I would love to talk, discuss that someday when he's free, maybe.
Sure.
But my question was about DPS, and DPS, the motto is service before self. So how have you been applying that, and how has it helped you there? How have you been engaging with your community there and Indians there in that, from that motto, aspect of the motto?
Yep. I think before the service before self comes in, it's survival. As any immigrant, you come here, you survive. And then once you survive, I think Rajiv can tell you and attest to that too, is really understanding and getting your bearings. And once you get your bearings, you basically find to be able to service yourself and your immediate family. And then once you reach a certain stage, then it becomes service, giving back. And that's when I said service is not just giving back dollars and cents, your time. I think time is very important. And at the same time, whatever is your calling, you know, sometimes people may ideologically differ. They say, I want to give time to whatever your calling is, be it an orphanage, be it in a political field, be it in a religious faith. I think each has his own way of giving back the service. So I decided to give my service back by being active in the political field, understanding the mainstream, because guess what? We have come to a foreign land. We are an immigrant. We have to assimilate in their way of life. And that's what I did. And at the same time, when I was doing that, now my goal is to people who are from our faith and our heritage, and all Americans from different countries, is to bring them into this fold of American way of life. So to me, that's my service. And also, I believe it's important for any democracy for participation. And my goal is to have every community from every ethnic backgrounds and mainstream to participate in the political process, to fight for their freedom. Because as I think President Reagan said, you know, you can lose your democracy in one generation. It can go downhill very fast.
I have a very interesting, thought-provoking question that was triggered because of listening to Puneet talking about his experiences in the US and his reasons to run for office in Virginia and all that stuff. And I'm you know, very proud that he is at least making a huge effort to becoming part of the American fabric and about, you know, becoming a political voice in the country where we are less than 1.5% population, but hold a large number of offices throughout the country. One point in time, Indian Americans had 2 governorships out of 50. So I think the question that I have, and it's not necessarily for Puneet, it's for just about everybody here, that when we see a advertisement that something is being offered for free, we tend to latch onto that. It's a free service offered by Netflix or free this and free that. A very large population gets attracted to that. And that seems to be a marketing modus used by a lot of people when they want to start up, offer something for free. So there's a human tendency to go after something that is free. Now, when you transplant that free availability into a mob situation or a riot situation, when TVs and sneakers are available for free and there's nobody minding the store, how does that human nature transform from normal to criminal?
It's very easy. It's family. If you've been taught that what's yours is yours and theirs is theirs, you will not do it. I didn't see my kids going and jumping into trucks and going for free stuff. It's what you teach your kids, how you live as a model life. And in our culture, in our faith, you know, there's plenty of stories. What's mine is mine. And Dussehra is being celebrated, fighting good over evil. So I think a lot has to come with faith, family, and teaching. And I'm not making it into a political pitch because I did see your chat. I'm very straightforward in that, Himanshu. What it is there's a clear right and wrong. And there is a gray. I understand there's gray in every aspect of things. But I believe when it's not free, those things were not free. They were being stolen. Taking somebody's life was not a free-for-all moment. It's taking squashing somebody's life away. That's my take.
My mama, she's also a dip side. I'll just
Wonderful.
move my camera for a minute and she's here.
She looks
My
like your elder
greetings to
sister.
all. The conversation I heard between Himanshu sir and you, sir, Puneet sir, it was absolutely brilliant. I could sense the pain Himanshu was feeling, and I could see how we are placing a lot of trust in you, and we want you to be the torch bearer,
Thank you.
our representative of a fair decision making. You have a lot of clarity, sir, and our sincere wishes are with you.
Well, thank you. And first thing is congratulations to you and your family on a wonderful wedding you're hosting. And to me, you look more like Tanya's elder sister. And and the other thing is when you said torchbearer, I think when people, our logo on the DPS site was basically a torch in the hand of all of us. I think we are all basically torchbearers and passing it on to the next generation. But thank you for listening in. I hope it was all in good, straightforward communication was my goal. And an honor and a pleasure to meet you. Enjoy a lovely evening for coming forth.
Thank you, sir.
One question for you. The issue is not whether you're Republican or you're Democrat or you're independent. The issue is, are you human? Are you looking at both sides? Can you hear what happens on the other sides, the pain on the other side, pain on this side, and then try to see if you can come up with a common path. And that is what I would urge you to build into your future in the political path. And wherever you need our support, I'm sure the Indian American community will be out there to help you. But most importantly, we have to listen to both aspects of any view.
I think, Himanshu, that's a very good point. And that's the reason what I have kind of inculcated in my campaign is civility. I have to listen. And and you have to listen to people and have compassion and empathy. That's very important. And I'll tell you, not to sidestep from the protocol of one question response. The other thing I said that if I may disagree with the Democrat, doesn't mean he's going to be gone tomorrow, or the person on the other side. I'll see him again tomorrow. It's with your wife or your kids. You find a way to reach a common ground. And I believe in common grounds. I believe in ideologically we may disagree, but at the same time, for the betterment of the country, of the state, of the people, of the community, you come to at least agree for out of 10 things, maybe one thing or two things. And that's a start. That's where you start. It's all about serving the community, serving the people, and finding a middle ground where you can win the hearts and minds of the people. So that's my way of leading.
Puneet, my grandfather was to an extent a freedom fighter, and he went in a couple of times, especially the Swadeshi movement, etc. And he used to have a placard in the drawing room saying, "We may disagree as long as we are not disagreeable." And that's a huge statement that I've always carried, tried to carry with myself, try to implement it. And I think what you mentioned also would flow from there. Okay, the point that I wanted to make earlier was, Puneet, a rapid fire usually ends with a bouquet of flowers going to the winner and the runners. At the end of this conversation, please let us have a name and an email and an address and a phone number, and we will have a bouquet of flowers delivered Tuesday morning.
You're very kind. Thank you so much. I think your blessings, your support, this forum, I think we can expand this, get more people involved. If I think the best flowers do is they basically not only make it, they flow happiness, but also the scent, the smell. And I think if we all pass the great learning from DPS to other people and expand it, I think we do our part. And I'm doing in my part, and together we can do a great part of doing greater good and make both United States, India, and the entire world a better place. ultimately, that's what it's about. We are here in a flash in a pan. So thank you all. Really, really appreciate and honored.
Let me start by, again, all the best to Puneet for your endeavors. Proud moment for all the dip sites across globe. For somebody, a dip site who can claim that he knows Puneet Ahluwalia, or he can claim that he also is a dip site and Puneet is a dip site too. My question comes, and I need your take on that, Puneet.
Yes,
and
please.
my questions don't treat it as a political question, but it comes from me coming from a corporate background. As a leader, we show the path to our people in the corporate world, and you lead by example. So the question I have is, what's your take on President Trump having his or showcasing about the COVID piece, which is very, very specific about the mask not being important? Because coming from background of doctors, I know that this is one of the big things which can destroy or take care of the situation where we are in today.
I don't speak for President Trump because he's a man who speaks for himself, and I don't think anybody can get to President Trump and what he wants to do. I believe, you see, we as conservatives or Republicans are very individualistic. It's individual freedom. If you see what the core values of the Republican Party is, it's no government mandate. So it's in a way, it's a rebellious thing in us, or more, not rebellious is the right way to describe it, but more individual. So it's up to the individual to take responsibility. We are all grown-ups, we understand, we read the news, decipher the news. And if you feel, and for yourself, for your family, for the general good, you should wear a mask, then you should wear a mask. And I think what President Trump was trying to say is that I believe this is a serious disease, but I'm also taking all the necessary precautions to protect myself. And for the longest time, if you look, it started in March, and only till in the last month or so when he was diagnosed with COVID, and that's when also he went out campaigning. So again, to answer the question is, I don't speak for him, but I think you have to take individual responsibility for your health, for your neighbor's health, and for the community health.
That's why I started by saying, you lead by example. And generally, masses follow the leader. So, and they really influence on various aspects. So that is where I was coming from.
I think as leaders, you have a lot of moral responsibility, but you also have an important responsibility of keeping the economy going, of infusing confidence in the people that, oh my God, everything is going to be fine tomorrow. So there's a two-way of looking at it, and sometimes people may see it's a sign of weakness, or some see as a sign of strength. And sometimes people say it's a sign of carelessness. But to me, it was more important to keep a thriving, humming economy of the United States going, because we have just had such a great time that was going on. And I believe what China was not honest, not clear with us, didn't come forth with the seriousness of this disease. And as a leader, you trust the other leader. And that's when he said, I trust President Xi on what was going on. And they lied, and people have died, and serious consequences to that disease and that impact.
I just had one comment about this. As a small business owner, me and my wife, we are struggling, trying to figure out how we can run the business, at the same time keep our employees and staff and customers safe. And it is a daily struggle. And the problem we have is that there is no guidance. We have to we are on our own right now. There is no guidance. Our governor is great. He put some rules, and we are in Massachusetts, and we are following that. But how do you survive in this COVID situation? And all you try to think about is, when your house is on fire, do you run for the bank, or do you run for water? And that's the biggest question that I don't think anybody is able to answer for us. Should we protect our health, or should we protect our business? Because you can always build a business, but you cannot recover from death.
And Himanshu, if you, that's one of the reasons why I also decided to run for office was this pandemic is going to claim a lot of economic casualties.
Yes.
I was a casualty of the financial meltdown in 2007 and 8, and there was the over-regulation and the under-regulation by the government agencies. And that's true. There's a federal mandate and there's a state mandate. And I also feel in certain ways they have been not use of effective technology of seeing where the COVID is and how do you protect those areas at the same time keeping the other aspects of the economy going. We saw in ABC stores, which is government-run store or state-run stores, where the state stores were open, but whereas the pop and mom shop were asked to close down. So the haphazard policies that came down from the governors was really disappointing. And we also saw the unnecessary deaths that took place, which meant is that if we identified that these deaths were happening in the elderly care and the elderly folks, we should have found a way to isolate them. So again, when you look back at the pandemic, hindsight is 2020, but when you're first not told that this is a serious problem, and second, when it hits you, really don't know how to take it on. It's one day to the next. And then it's also a chaos at the same time. As you said, when your house is on fire, do you get the water or you save your business? So I believe there is afterlife after the fire is gone. And then you have to start to pick back the pieces up. So that's where the leadership comes into place. Is I felt there were a lot of PPE loans, a lot of funding that came from the government in a very short span of time, which helped people to maintain their payroll. At the same time, they were also given enough funds to succeed. And that's the reason why many of the businesses are thriving today. That did not happen in 2007 and 8. Otherwise, my business would have carried on. So there are no perfect examples when you are hit by a tsunami of an issue. But in the end, I think it's all about good governance and using technology to the best advantage.
It was nice, and thank you very much. And I wish you all the best in the election. So let's hope we get to see you someday on the top.
Well, hopefully, and you have a great time in Russia, especially. Is it Das Svidaniya when they say goodbye?
Yes, that depends upon whether the Democrats allows us to actually have some fun here. We are waiting. Once you come to power, we are waiting for all the sanctions.
Okay, good. I hope not. I think I believe Russia can be a great ally to the United States. It's unfortunate we fought together in the World War II, but there's the Iron Curtain, and I hope it doesn't come back up.
Yeah, I think Russia is a very strong country. A lot of potentials are there, and if US and Russia can work together instead of fighting against each other and always, I think a lot of problems in the world can be solved.
I hope the way the Israelis and the UAE and Bahrain have been able to come up with the Abraham Accord, which was a big, huge success. And now, yesterday was the peace accord with Sudan. I believe that this president has focused on peace, on finding long-term stability and solution. But it also depends on the mindset of Chinese and the Russians and the Iranians. What do they want? How do they want the peace to be? So I believe that the actions of this president has been far stronger and far greater in reaching out to North Korea. Look at the dynamics between Prime Minister Modi and him. And also the Quad. It's also a creation of the United States and with the great support of these four nations. So I believe this president wants to not go into unnecessary wars.
I also request you all to kindly check this small website, www.dps-alumni.com. You can fill in your details and all future programs would be emailed across to you. Thank you so much, Puneet, for taking time out and talking to us. I'm sure your journey would, inspire many websites from all over the world, to take a plunge and do what they strongly believe in. And we wish you all the best. And on that note, namaskar all, good night, sat sri akal.